Hey guys, welcome to episode 20 of the weekly. And yes, I am talking to you live from the West Coast. I'm ever so closer to Mr. Juan Bagnell. How's it going, man?
Yeah, I mean, welcome to my time zone, man. You see what I have to do every time we do one of these, and I have to get up early on a Saturday, and it's
No,
always
no, I feel quite refreshed, man. I know what you're talking about, man. I woke up at like
fun.
6.
Sure.
And Mr. Warren Bowman, how's it going, man?
That's going good.
All right, let's kick things off, guys. This week, Lenovo had their big press event in San Francisco, Lenovo Tech World, where they announced two major devices. But of course, the big one is the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force. So we want to just spend some time talk about the device. I know myself and Juan have seen it, but I also want to get Warren's take, especially just looking at it from from outside and saying, okay, what he perceives of the device compared to what we saw as we felt it. So I'll start off with you, Juan. Your thoughts after using the device. I'll be touching, feeling, swapping, all that fun stuff with the Moto mods. What do you think about the Moto Z?
Yeah. So first of all, immediately, I think we can safely say that Motorola has a better concept for modular phone design than what LG did. In fact, it was a common talking point throughout the entire show. Like I think during the keynote, they took two or three distinct jabs at LG. Like, oh well, and with this system, you don't even need to take out the battery or reboot your phone to add a backplate or something. So immediately the core concept of this device I think is pretty sound for what it is that we're trying to achieve with modular design. This is going to be a very divisive device. On the comments for our hands-on video on Pocket Now, it's a pretty even split between people who think this is terrible phone design and people who think this is amazing phone design. And for myself personally, I'm thinking that just knowing my propensity for things like ruggedized phones and phones with larger batteries, I'd probably side with the Z Force. It's a little bit thicker, but you get a substantially larger battery. You get a higher resolution camera sensor. Uh, it also has the shock resistant, the shatter resistant screen built
Screen,
into
yeah.
it. So that to me is a lifestyle device that I can get behind. The Z really does seem to me to be kind of a Lenovo influenced product. Lenovo, for their ThinkPads, has this track record of, well, we can build you the absolute most portable, thinnest, lightest, business grade laptop, but we will knowingly compromise battery life. For those people who need something super ultra light, you can have that. And then for those people who need more battery life or can just get by on quick charging, then you can just get by on that. And that's kind of what the Moto Z feels like. It's
Mhm.
like the bare minimum, literally like the thinnest possible frame, so that when you add attachments, it's not overly huge, but the thinnest possible frame with like the baseline flagship specs that people would expect in a phone, and then you add on top of it for whatever specific uses or needs that you have. I think from a design standpoint, though, a lot of people are going to be the fingerprint sensor is going to be very controversial. The
Oh,
the bottom mounted sensor, which does not seem to act as any kind of home button. I hope that changes in software by the time we get it in consumer hands. It's definitely going to be one sticky spot. I understand they can't put it on the back because that's where the Moto mods go, but if you have on-screen navigation controls and then a hardware button lump, it's not confusing, but it's inelegant. That's how I want to say it. It's an inelegant solution for a fingerprint sensor.
Warren, how about you?
Um, as far as the Moto Z and Z Force, from what I saw, I don't know. They're interesting devices where they're smartphones that have some modular aspects to them. Even though from what all I've seen, it looks like they almost look like just kind of case attachments, something that just kind of attaches to the back of the phone, and voila, you have a speaker, and voila, you have a projector. Um, those are interesting. I still think we're in a space where I don't think we've really hit true modular phones yet. I think we're just getting slowly, step by step, towards those type of things. The Z Force is interesting because it has I think the bigger battery inside of that one, a little more rugged. Kind of disappointed. I think both of these are essentially exclusive to Verizon for a while or something like that. So I think they'll have it first before anyone else does,
Yeah.
which usually tracks out to not great sales in the beginning when you lock to one carrier, and then eventually show up on everyone else's. By the time that kind of happens, everyone's sort of forgotten the narrative of the product by then, because something else new and shiny is out and is available for everyone. Um, the the no headphone jack thing is going to, I believe, be very interesting how the market reacts to that. That to me is, I think, the biggest difference outside of the modular sort of thing. Because my thing is, okay, they have modular parts, but are those parts actually going to be available when you go buy the damn thing? Because that was sort of the problem with the LG phone. It's like, here's your modular stuff, but you can't get it when you get the phone right away. Are these things going to be available right away? But switching to USB Type C, where you can get, I think you can get headphones now that have that port, or you can get an adapter that changes it around. It's going to be very interesting for people and see how they kind of respond to that. Are they going to be able to? Are they going to like not having that? Are they going to maybe move to Bluetooth, or they're not going to buy the phone because it doesn't have that? Because the excuse really for this has been that we can make the phone much thinner if we remove the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. My whole take on it is, why the hell do you need to make the phone any thinner? It doesn't need to be that thin. No one asked for it to be as thin as a piece of paper. It's got to be some water weight or something to it. But overall, until I get my hands on, I can't really say too much. But from what I've seen, they look like nice devices. They're the Moto brand design. The Moto mods are a cool thing. It's still not fully a modular thing. It's sort of kind of what it is. It's just sort of nice accessories that integrate a little bit more with the phone, from my viewpoint. But we'll just have to wait and see how the market reacts to it. I think the biggest thing is going to be that if somebody picks up the phone, they're going to realize it doesn't have a headphone jack on it, and then when they get home and realize it doesn't have it, what is their reaction going to be at that point?
Well,
Motorola said that they will be including an adapter. So
yes,
in taking the phone out of the box, you're going to have this extra little dongle that has a
that's
3.5 millimeter jack on it.
Then what was the point then? Like, if you're already going to add an adapter to defeat your purpose of making it thin, like it.
Well, I think a lot
To
of
me,
this
it would have been
is
to me it would have been more valuable for them to actually say, well, hey, here's a set of USB Type C headphones that you can use with it to move forward, instead of let's change this, but still slightly. It's just weird. It's like
Well,
I'd
I
rather
mean,
them just kept it there.
they do have time to add the USB Type C headphones, which JBL, their partner, does make. So at least they have that time to add it in the box. We'll see if that ever happens.
But I could also see if there's a partnership. I honestly don't think they're going to move to add headphones to the box. So they've
Box,
got
yeah.
an adapter solution for people that probably already have some kind of solution, earbud, something. It's not going to be an Apple $30 adapter just so that you can plug something into the bottom of your phone. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of partnership or outreach. So with JBL, like maybe there's like a coupon offer so that you can get a really nice pair of USB-C powered cans that way, and you get like a $20 off or something. But we have a comment here from All Nighter Pro Tech. This is less modular than the G5 in a sense that all you're doing is attaching something to the device. You aren't truly replacing anything on the phone. And I got to say, like one of the things that I think is interesting here is we're looking at some pretty in-depth interactions with launch products. You've got speaker systems that connect directly to the back. You've got a projector system which
Hmm.
connects directly to the back, and it happens instantaneously. Like in part of our hands-on video, I'm showing video, and you can't hear it off of the little front-firing speaker on the phone, and you clip the speakers to the back, and the video playback is not interrupted as the phone searches for a driver to launch the audio playing out the back, and you can
Back,
flip it
yeah.
around, and you've got louder audio. And same thing with the projector. You just stick it on, and you see this little screen wipe, and that's all the phone had to do to locate the software to power the hardware that's on the back of the device, and it's pretty seamless. I was really impressed with this implementation.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I liked about the headphone jack thing is one where even Warren, as soon as they made the announcement and Warren saw it, he's like, "You and Juan are going to be pissed about this." I was like, "We'll deal with this later. We'll deal with this later."
I'm not happy about losing the jack, but this gives them an opportunity to actually release a high-quality DAC unit that LG can't seem to get off the ground here in North America.
Yeah. No, but one thing I liked about the device is that some of the accessories, like even the battery case, you know, it has that massive battery camera hump at the back. Once you slap the battery case on it, everything is flush. And it doesn't feel like you added a case. It literally just feels as thick as your.
Or even just the backplate helped. You
Yeah,
know, those designer backplates minimizes the amount of bulge coming off.
And yeah, and I think one of the things and like to Warren's point, Warren's like, this is not modular. I agree, but I think this is all probably the kind of modular that most people will accept, because even I look at Project Aria and I go, I don't know, you know, we've talked about that before. It's like, compared to this is something where people can easily slap on and slap up without feeling like they're taking their phone apart or you know, getting into that like nitty gritty.
Then isn't the word modular getting hijacked by just fancy case attachments?
Oh, of course. I'm not disagreeing.
and
It's like Microsoft saying that was HoloLens is what do you call it? It's a hologram. No, it's augmented reality. But it's them taking what LG threw out and then saying, you know what, we're going to run with it and make it better. And the fact that you don't turn off your phone is such a huge plus. And so far the attachments really do stick. I mean, you know, some people ask me, they're like, is it flimsy? Once you slap it down, it's like it's locked. You have to kind of peel it up, like, you know, from the bottom. It's easy to take off. It's not hard, but it's also very secure from what we saw.
And also, you know, for all of our talk on modular design, I mean, Moto mods are really sort of modifications. What we're talking about is adding one specific feature for a consumer that they want to customize or personalize to that one degree. So I don't remember a lot of language from Motorola specifically saying that this is going to be a modular a modular setup beyond just their description of what these individual accessories are.
Yeah. And also, I think you guys on Pocket Now showcased that they're going to have a different camera attachments in terms of the Moto mods that will come out with the Play Edition, most likely, and a ruggedized, very like casing version of it. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that they can do with it. I think the thing that would probably hurt it the most is that Verizon exclusivity first. You know, it would be nice if they actually released the Play version first and then dropped a Droid that was super ruggedized off the bat without using the case, and then add the cases, you know, the mods add something different to it altogether. But, you know, we'll see how that plays out with them in terms of sales. But also the release, since there's no release date, no pricing on the devices, you know, by the time it hits, it's the Note 7, or Note 6, whatever it's going to be called at that time, and who knows. Anyway,
probably a very forgotten device in the end.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think it will be very forgotten. I think it will have some play. It just all depends on how much they price it now at this point. That's the only thing that will bring them back into the conversation.
Well, I really expect this is going to be an expensive device. I think Motorola, looking at the premium build materials, looking at the new technology that has to go into pogo pins and magnetic swaps, I have every expectation that the Moto Z is probably going to be somewhere around a $650 phone. What I think is going to be necessary is having a strong Moto X strategy. We know that Motorola is not walking away from the Moto X line either.
Yeah.
If you have a strong Z as your bleeding edge tech area, you have a return to the Moto X from this new sort of Lenovo Motorola partnership.
Yeah.
And then they really do hold to this idea that these Moto mods are going to last beyond your one phone purchase.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've set the stage for growth long term. It kind of gets Motorola back into the conversation, because last year for Motorola was kind of a lost year in transitioning from Google to Lenovo. So what we need to see, and it's just kind of like what the same thing we were sort of saying about HTC. HTC building one phone does not a legacy make, and we need to see companies like Motorola and HTC demonstrate over time that they can continue to stay on the pulse, that can continue to support their customers and release interesting devices that we want to talk about. So we've got some really fun talking points, and then the Note 7 is going to come out and we're all going to shift focus. But over time, if we see more mods coming out by the end of the year, we see some interesting stuff at the beginning of 2017. We see more third-party partnerships, so not just JBL, but like maybe we get a really high-end, like Olympus makes a Moto mod where you can use Olympus lenses on the back of your phone. Now we've got something to talk about. It's a constant conversation that Motorola can have with their customers, not just this one spike and then it disappears and we don't talk about them until they release another phone.
No, that's true. I mean, especially the fact that if you buy that Olympus mod this year, and next year you want to upgrade to the next Moto Z, and
And it still works.
you can
Yeah.
slap it on there, and you're like, my camera is better than all of your shit. Sorry, people, I don't care. Then it makes more sense for consumer to say buy. But again, it's something over time. But like you said, they have a short window, and then once the Note 7 comes out, remove conversation. All right, moving on to the Tango phone. Lenovo and Google released the first Tango device, which is the Phab2Pro, which spots three cameras at the back, depth sensor, measurements, as well as is a 16 megapixel shooter at the back, a QHD display. Also, it's 6.4 inches in size, so it is massive for normal human beings in general. Got a 4,000 milliamp battery.
I
It is
feel that was
not
a shot at me.
that no, not at all, not at all. I saw you holding the phone with two hands plus one. I mean, just saying. Um, and um, and it also is powered by a Snapdragon 652 processor, which is interesting. I guess that's capable enough to do what it needs to do. But pricing is 449 for the Phab2 Pro, and it will be available sometime in the fall again. And in the US, it will be available through Warren's best company, Hewitt, Best Buy.
Ooh, ooh.
No
No,
comment,
nothing,
Warren.
Warren?
Damn, Warren.
I thought you'd have been like,
Warren just gave
have
stank
some kind
face.
of reaction,
He's
but
like, nope, not
no.
at all. Yeah. So thoughts on the Phab2 Pro? I'll start with you, Juan.
Here I'm gonna queue up what we had just to kind of show off while I'm talking here. So Phab2Pro, it's too big for me. 2.4-inch screen, and literally I'm trying to find it in this video here. I'm in the middle of doing this demonstration, and this tiny little Asian woman just comes over and just starts using the phone while I'm holding it and trying to do my video. And it really was. It was like this was like a three-handed device to get everything set up while I was shooting. Augmented reality is stinking cool. I'm trying to find. Yeah, here it is. So we did Qualcomm had this amazing AR gaming experience, and so it's using this phone sensor and cameras in real time to track objects in space, and then you have these aliens that just pop out and you blast them with these like lightning bolts and stuff, and it was just so well done considering um, what uh, what this phone is powered by. Like I actually don't have a lot of experience with the Qualcomm 652, but it was really impressive to see this stuff in real time. Project Tango seems like it's it's viable, like it's consumer ready. Obviously, there are going to be some teething pains, and we need to see more developers jumping on board to support this stuff. But when one of your launch partners is Lowe's, and Lowe's is talking about, well, we can do all these really, really cool things with calculating volume and surface area in real
Mm-hmm.
time in space, and that's how you can decide what kind of furniture you're going to put in your house. And then they show an app which is really well featured for doing exactly that. That to me is an example of something that just works. Consumers aren't going to have to be explained to how this stuff works. You're going to put the phone in their hands and you're going to say, okay, well, now like draw a square, and they're going to do it, and they're like, that's how much room you have for a coffee table in your living room. And you're like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. And then you can hand the phone to a kid and be like, well, just touch the button that says Velociraptor, and a Velociraptor pops up, and they can like move the phone around and see the Velociraptor in space in front of them and get little tips and like educational points about what Velociraptor was. That to me is a consumer ready technology, and that's really compelling. I think that's going to have huge potential to disrupt a number of the services that we sort of take for granted on our phones.
Warren, any thoughts?
Interesting device. It's got a lot of great features. It's really cool. First Project Tango device. We have essentially consumer ready augmented reality. The only thing is what's the practical application for this to get the consumers to buy it? What's the actual snag that people are going to want to? I want to buy this phone for this reason because this helps me with said feature or said problem or it helps enhance something. That's sort of what my question is sort of about how this first part of Tango phone is going to work out, because it's sort of reminding me of how Google Glass was, where it just kind of came out and it just became this thing, but never really went anywhere on the consumer side of things. We have a consumer-ready product, but I'm not sure where it's gonna go. Why, like, what's the draw for someone to buy this phone, use it as a phone first, a massive phone at that too, at 6.4 inches, and then be able to say, hey, here's these augmented things that are practical in your daily life or practical within a particular situation for you. I think that's the question that I'm wondering if this first device is going to be able to answer.
I don't think the first device will fully be able to answer it. I think this first device is just so that they actually show that Tango is viable as a viable product. And I think Google's plan is Tango is going to be fully integrated into Android so that manufacturers now have, can put three sensors at the back because you need those. You need those three cameras to get everything to work and things like that. So it's one of those plays where you have to put it on the device, but it's not going to answer all those questions. But once people start seeing that and say maybe the next, if Samsung doesn't, Samsung throws, Samsung has two cameras next year, right? That's the rumor. And same thing with, other developers are going to have two cameras on their phones anyway. I mean, OEMs. So when you start pushing that and say, hey, look, now with your phone, you can, go to Lowe's. You don't have to go to Lowe's. You can basically just measure. I mean, the cool thing I like was measuring just height, distance, and measuring distance in your house. You point here and you point there. Oh, that is 10 meters. Done. You don't have to bring out a tape measure. You don't have to do anything out because your phone can do those things for you. So, I mean, to your point, I don't think it's going to answer that question, especially because it's 6.4 inches too. That alone takes a lot of people out of the equation.
Yeah,
But
I don't mean to say that this is viable like augmented reality is consumer viable. What I mean is Tango is viable, and now it's the same situation that we have with like VR. Now we need content that's actually going to utilize these sensors, but they've got some pretty good launch partners. They've got a good idea for some gaming. They've got a good idea for some education, and they've got a good idea for some professional and some construction style solutions. And now we have to see how other companies and however the developers embrace it. But I think Tango itself is ready to go. I agree. Like when Google made their big splash, it's no longer Project Tango. It's just Tango. It's not a project anymore. I'm inclined to agree. I think now we're ready to start, seeing how we can push this kind of hardware and what we can do with it.
Sam, any thoughts? Thanks for joining.
Hey, Sam.
What's going on, gentlemen? Well, Tango's cool. I'm done. So basically, Tango is, I think the way you're looking at it when they say consumer stuff, I think Warren has it right. This is something that's going to be in phones. I'm sorry, I think E had it right. This is something that's going to be in phones, and Google's going to push out there. The real consumers of this, the real users of this, the real implementers of this are really going to be companies. You're starting right now mostly with museums. In Spain, we have the video from Spain, right?
Yeah.
And where you have Tango in a museum in the I think the Modern Art Museum there, and it's really useful because you walk into a museum, and the first thing you normally do when you're in a museum in a foreign country or in any museum is, where do I go see this great exhibit that everyone's talking about? You have to go to either the information desk, and then they give you a pamphlet, and then you follow the map. Tango literally walks you there. It's a little bit more than just augmented reality, because if you look at a lot of augmented reality right now, a lot of it is triggered with little tabs here or little geolocation here or whatever. But Tango can be done with just a frame. It identifies this frame and says, oh, I know what room this frame is in, and I know what the next painting is. It's a mixture of AI and augmented reality that really comes together to give consumers a really interesting experience when you have places like shopping, when you have places like museums, anywhere that requires you to need that map to get to the next point. I can see amusement parks doing this. I can see Disney saying, hey, if you can get the Disney Tango app and just go ahead and map out all your trips in Walt Disney and Disney World before you walk anywhere. It's going to be that kind of push that you're going to get that kind of use from. The consumers aren't really going to see it. It's not a consumer solution. It is more a commercial solution that basically will trickle down to the consumers, because it makes their shopping, makes their vacationing that much more easier.
You had a very good point there when you said Google Maps. That is the one thing the Tango lead said, that when you open up Google Maps, you take everything for granted, and that is what they want Tango to be. They want it to be that seamless where you're like, look, I just need to go from point A to B and not care about the he's like, you don't call Google Maps sexy, but Google Maps is efficient. That's what you want. So when he said that and realized that to Warren's point of the sell really is to the I think the sell is to the OEMs themselves.
Yes.
Put Tango on your devices. You can throw it, and here's one for $449. So which means you can cost effectively put it in something and then start pushing it out. Because I can, like I said, if the Galaxy S8 drops with Tango and Samsung does its usual splash of throwing in a bunch of things and people go ooh ah yeah, then that really solidifies that, okay, yeah, Tango is here. Or even the next Nexus, whether it has something like that, who knows. But it's one of those things where once you start seeing it in action, you realize that they've done something where it's really moved from projects to Tango, where you can actually use it for just regular activities without thinking too much. And I think in construction, like you said, from the construction space and the games with kids will be a huge momentum, and also educational games too. I think is somewhere if people start maximizing on that, you can see the benefits, and that's where people, parents will like, yeah, sure, I have the phone or the Tango tablet or whatever the case may be, and my kids use it or whatever the case.
So we've got a question here from Haniko. Actually, I still don't quite get Tango. Is it similar to the HoloLens, just in a different handset? And I think a very loose analogy might be Tango to HoloLens would be similar to having like Gear VR to a proper HTC Vive. HoloLens is going to be an extremely sophisticated, immersive, augmented reality experience to take the place of sort of the traditional computing system that we've got. Tango is a way to easily add a consumer-facing AR solution to a smartphone. And so I think we're going to see the quality difference in those two products be very similar to the Gear VR experience, where VR is powered by your phone, then compared to what the HTC Vive can do when it's powered by a proper gaming PC and very sophisticated sensors and headset hardware.
Yeah.
And for me, I think the big difference between HoloLens and this is going to be HoloLens is really geared toward the entertainment side. Tango is definitely, to me, more geared towards the usability side. So you're not going to be sitting down and playing Tango for hours and hours, having fun with whatever. You're going to be using Tango when you're in a city and you need to basically see that yellow line that leads you to, El Corte Inglés. Like, what is that? I don't know where it is. I've never been to the city before. And you basically tap it on Tango or tap it on Google. It launches a Tango app, and you basically see that yellow line giving you step-by-step, not even step-by-step directions, giving you that almost like a breadcrumb trail to your next to your next location. Well, whereas HoloLens is definitely more geared towards entertainment. You want to watch your videos on there. You want to see your augmented reality games. You want to basically position a screen.
Well, I think I don't know that I would say entertainment versus. What I would say is I think it's mobile versus sedentary. I think HoloLens needs to exist in a more sedentary or a more controlled environment. And I think, because you're right, I mean, there are going to be tons of entertainment applications for both platforms, but I think HoloLens is actually going to go high sciences first. When you're mapping genome and you can actually have twisted structures out in space in front of you, from a lot of the demos that we've seen, or engineering and CAD/CAM design, where you can blow things up like Tony Stark and have like your model out in space in front of you as opposed to looking at a computer monitor. I think those are going to be the primary applications first for HoloLens, because it's stupid expensive.
But from a consumer point of view, the regular consumer is not going to be using HoloLens.
Right, but that's also why I draw this parallel
3D
between
modeling of
That's why I draw this parallel between Gear VR and HTC Vive. For your general consumers, they're not going to have a HoloLens. I can't believe that HoloLens is not going to start at least $1,000, if not more than that. So the general consumer is not looking at HoloLens as, this is what I'm going to do just to have some fun. The first people who buy HoloLens are going to be people that can afford that infrastructure, just like the HTC Vive or the Oculus. People's first experiences with VR are probably going to be very inexpensive consumer solutions like Cardboard or whatever this new, what is it? It's not Daydream. what's the new Google standard that's coming out for their VR?
Daydream.
It is.
Daydream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then Daydream is
I
going to
know you're confused because Daydream is their lock screen kind of.
That's where I got stuck.
Yeah.
It was like, wait a minute, that's not the right word.
When they announced it, I said the exact same thing. I'm like, Google has basically ran out of names for stuff.
Yeah, and they're recycling names that they didn't really need to. But that's kind of what I mean, is like your first experiences with VR are going to be inexpensive, and then that's going to influence some consumers to go out and really spend the money for the infrastructure that it takes to power a high-end VR system. And the same thing here. Tango is just going to be on your phone. In a couple years, most phones are going to have some kind of setup that can utilize this style of information interactivity, and so you just take it for granted. Now, if you really want to get into AR, though, then you've got to drop some coin and move up to HoloLens. So again, that top-down is going to start with the firms that can afford it, and then consumers will eventually get on board once prices start falling.
And at the end of the day, I think it's going to be really interesting when we get to that immersion factor. It's going to be VR versus AR at the end of the day. And I'm really, really waiting to see what happens when that shootout happens. Because you know they're going to come to a point where it's like, okay, do you want a virtual reality kind of enclosed kind of system, or do you want an AR that you can basically experience your world while having this little artifacts around?
See, I don't think it's going to even come to. I don't think it will.
I hope it does. I'm actually hoping it does, because that's going to be a really interesting shootout. It's going to be
I don't know. I think it's just. To me, I look at them as almost two very different things. I really do, because
I beg to differ.
Yeah, no, using HoloLens, using HoloLens, I'm still in the real world. I'm still here. So I'm looking at quote unquote, as Microsoft, a hologram in the real world. But VR really takes you somewhere else. Really puts you in a different destination. So
it could do that, but what about in AR? You can actually pop up like a palm tree in your living room. You can literally change the aesthetics of your living room.
But it's still my living room, so it doesn't matter.
No,
yeah, there's an argument that can be made there. So there's always going to be that give and take. I really hope we have that pushback between AR and VR, and see which kind of experience people really flock towards.
So I think what we're going to see, because I kind of agree with both of you guys. I think there will eventually be some kind of
pick a side one. Pick a side.
No, this is what I think. This is what I mean. Is like, I don't think we'll need to. I think you look at HoloLens. What's to stop you from just putting a black cover around HoloLens to have a more immersive VR experience? Like, nothing. That's really all VR is a completely closed
Microsoft ideas
visor headset, right? So that you don't have anything blocking or interrupting that experience. But where we've seen some companies flirting, like there was a company that was trying to do a VR laser tag arena style gaming thing. Why do that when you can just have AR? So you don't have to have a very safe place where people are walking around with VR headsets and potentially like falling or bumping into each other and stuff. You can have this crazy immersive gaming experience with augmented reality. But for those times that you really need to block out the world around you, that's where virtual reality is still going to be a benefit. Now, I think AR has way more potential to be disruptive, though. Because once we can start building in low-level augmented reality solutions into things like larger sunglasses, or larger just glasses, frames you can wear on your face, AR will be an omnipresent Terminator vision feeding us information throughout most of our daily lives. Virtual reality will still be a way to block out the world around us. So it's going to be a very specific usage. So I think over time, we're going to see VR be this dominant force in the market, and then it's going to shrink as AR starts encroaching upon everything else that we do with software and services. And then VR is just going to be localized to those few experiences where we need a hyper focus.
Yeah. I mean, AR becomes, like you said, your Google Glass, your car displays, all that kind of stuff. And then when you need military training, you throw in a VR headset and you go to war.
And then when you go to war, you're going to leave the VR headset and go back to your AR stuff.
AR, exactly.
Yeah.
All of your information being fed to you on the battlefield.
All right, moving on to Amazon. Amazon, it looks like they want to fire up their own music service. Amazon is on a roll of trying to catch up, and it seems like they're going to spin out a streaming music service similar to how they spun off Amazon Prime Video. Pricing most likely would be similar. But what do you guys think of Amazon pushing out the music streaming service? Again, something that would support Amazon Echo and Alexa and all that stuff. I'll start off with you, Sam.
It is interesting. It's kind of funny that actually I'm probably one of the only people I know that uses the Amazon Music application on my desktop, and
Yeah.
kind of yeah, I probably have. And it's kind of interesting to see what Amazon's going to do with that, because streaming services has become such a big part of the way I listen to music, especially when it comes to especially since I use Google Music. That's really my music library right there. So if Amazon can do something competitively, it then ties basically my videos, movies, vinyl, which I buy from Amazon, and streaming music all in one place. It makes it a little bit more. If they have a competitive catalog as well, it makes it a little bit more appetizing for me to want to go to one place that has everything, rather than to go to just Google for that one particular thing. So I think Amazon might be making the right choice, since I already gave up on Apple anyway. So Amazon might be actually taking more away from Android from Google than it is from Apple at the end of the day.
How about you, Warren?
Interesting. It's them spinning out what everybody got with. Initially, this is the stuff they were trying to shove into sort of the Amazon Prime subscription. I think by them separating them out, they're going to show the value better in getting
Of Amazon Prime, right?
Prime. Yeah, and that's kind of why they're doing this. It's like, we'll put this out for some people to be able to jump on it, but the end game is truthfully to get everyone on board with Amazon with Amazon Prime, and getting them into that $99 a year tier to get everything that's included inside of this, which probably includes streaming, storage, like free shipping, video, all those things sort of in one. So it's a good play to get attention to their services while still pushing, hey, if you get Prime, you get all this plus more. So, and they're really the only company
The
that
Prime catalog is 1 million songs.
has
I have it for free. For Prime, if you already have Prime, you get 1 million songs.
Yep.
This is cool. I just realized I have additional catalog. That's nice.
Yeah, no, they're pushing it smartly when doing this, because what I think they're doing is what Google kind of hasn't figured out yet, is they're trying to get you to buy a subscription to their service to be, so they're your digital service, so they offer everything that you do digitally all within Amazon's ecosystem. They're trying to get you to pick them for everything instead of having to go to all these different places. Something that I think Google hasn't quite linked up into trying to figure out how to offer Google as a service for everyone, and essentially like a paid tier for that, because I think there is a lot of people outside of anyone else that if they offered a paid tier within Google, that a lot of people would pay into, because they use a lot of Google services. So to be able to get something extra with that would be something I could see people wanting to pay into. It's something that, like I said, Amazon's trying, and I think they're doing it. I think this is a reverse way of offering it, and sort of showing you that we can give you these things separately while we still have this all-in-one solution. And I think they'll actually do pretty well with it, or if not, force other people in the market to offer the same things, such as Google. Microsoft may try to figure out their way into try to offering this as well with some of the services that they have. Apple, with the largest media catalog available in Apple, not quite sure if they're going to do this. They just got onto music services, but maybe giving this all Apple plan might be something that, once again, a lot of people might buy into, because it gives them an a la carte to everything all type of media, content, storage, everything that they want. It's just like offering offering the solution of solving someone's digital lifestyle is something that Amazon's trying to do, and I think this is a trend that all companies are eventually going to get towards doing, unless Microsoft can't figure that out, since they want to kick everyone off OneDrive and think it's like the greatest idea instead of just but that type of stuff disappoints me. It tells me where companies are thinking, where one would have saw that as a business opportunity to say, all right, people are using it this way, so the people are telling us what we want, because you really can't get any better business or any sort of type of market detail and information other than people using your stuff and showing you how they're using it when you didn't intend to have it be used that way as a way to get money. rather than just try to tell people what they want ahead of time, because that's the shit that Apple's running into now, because they were too busy telling people what they wanted, and people are now telling them what they want, and they can't seem to figure out a good way of getting about doing that, because they never function that way, unlike the Googles and the Amazons of the world that listen to the people, essentially.
One.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the one thing that I wonder, do any of you guys know? So, like, Apple Music's been out for a little while. We expect there's probably going to be some WWDC commentary on Apple Music and updates to that platform. There's a lot of talk about how iTunes is only selling like hundreds of thousands of songs a quarter now. Throughout all of this, have any of the major streaming services like Spotify been affected? Do we know? Like, has anyone said that like Spotify's numbers have been down quarter to quarter?
No word on that at all.
Like,
it doesn't seem
we
that way.
We would think like we would hear something if any of these other music streaming services had been successful enough to start really chipping away at a service like Spotify, right?
No, yeah. I think Google Music is the only one that I've heard that it's gotten traction, because especially when it moved to iOS, it got some traction there. So nothing much. I mean, Spotify is king right now.
Yeah. So I really don't see how Amazon walking into this space. I mean, I'm always going to be a fan of more competition, but this is a pretty well saturated space. So I'm not really expecting that Amazon's going to do much outside of their core, like, Prime subscribers, and then.
No, I think to Warren's point though, it is. I think it was Warren that mentioned, that it is just sucking you into Prime. It really is about Prime proper.
I know. Because I agree with Warren's point. What I mean is, in the realities of this consumer space, I believe that Prime users will absolutely take advantage of this service.
Yeah.
I question how many people, how the reverse is going to work. How many more people are going to gravitate into the Prime ecosystem? That's what I mean.
I definitely agree. I think the only thing they can do is, if they start the service, you buy it free, and if they start nudging people into Prime proper, or even maybe Prime Video mixed in with it, too, then that become, say for instance it's $9.99. They're like, well, if you only spend $15.99, then you only $2 a month on Spotify, but you get all the video content you want too. So that might be something where you start, nudging people and say, well, I mean, it's the same catalog, and I might as well.
If you only spend another $4 on top of that, then you get Amazon Kindle books.
It's that tiered system where it becomes, by the time you look at it, like tier, I might as well just get the whole Amazon Prime and be done with. That's eventually what they want to do. So it might be that scheme of just nudging you slowly into being, because even Amazon announced earlier, and nobody really picked it up, is that they will be selling their own products on Amazon Prime. I mean, their own toilet papers, their own, things like that. It's really, I mean, they're becoming.
They already have Amazon Basics. That was the stuff.
No. Amazon Basics.
They do. No, but they were talking about, like, on a larger scale, like really going into avenues where they see are profitable. Are they going to
drop it with drones? Are they going to drop it with drones?
So
I don't want it.
You don't want it, really?
If it doesn't come with dropped by drones, I don't want it.
Where on the roof of your apartment? Is that what it is?
No, on the roof of any apartment you order it to. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm very mischievous sometimes.
All right. Moving from Amazon, who's expanding, to Gawker, who is contracting. So Gawker
and contracting the plague, as it were.
Ooh, ouch.
Gawker is filed for Chapter 11 due to, of course, the fact that they have to pay the Hulk a lot of money. Not the Hulk, so Hulk Hogan. It's my bad. I said the Hulk. A lot of money through that lawsuit.
Hulkamania.
And it looks like they're going to sell off a lot of their assets to Ziff Davis Media. So thoughts on Gawker pretty much going bye-bye?
Well, personally, I think it's a very good cautionary tale. Beware of the kind of business you get into. Gawker's business has always been to be that kind of like dirty, dishy rag on the web.
But let's just be realistically. They were the dickheads. They were the dickheads across the board. This goes from Gizmodo to Kotaku, all across the board. Their whole thing is.
They even managed to
They
find a way to
outed.
take a property like Lifehacker and make it kind of dope.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
Lifehacker was cool too. Though.
Cool.
Like,
Lifehacker
And I'm
was
pretty
man.
sure.
awesome.
I'm pretty sure everyone that's probably watched, probably did Lifehacker and liked it, and then it all of a sudden turned into the seedy bullshit. Eventually went to make use of. Make use of probably fucking loved that because they just got everyone at that point.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but
Like,
Sam,
they
you were
screwed up
saying,
Life Hacker. No, I just think what they did was despicable, right? And if it had been someone who did not have the means to get back at them, they would have gotten away with it. They literally outed someone who was gay before he even told his family, before he told everyone else. They
Well, it's
outed
news,
the couple.
Sam. You have to break news.
But this is someone's private life.
And I think there was also that huge hypocrisy when we're going to stand behind publishing a Hulk Hogan sex tape because we think it's gross and funny, but oh, how dare you leak nude celebrity photos in the fappening? That's reprehensible. And like you have no moral ground to stand on when that's your editorial policy.
They're not. I'm sorry. They're not an editorial. I'm just put it that way. At the end of the day, I think people should be a little bit more cognizant of the things they put out there and the fact that it does affect the lives of other people. And sometimes you might affect the life of someone of means who actually basically has a vendetta against you, and who basically funds someone else's vendetta and puts you in Chapter 11. So Gawker, you got your comeuppance.
It's funny. If you think about it, this started what was their major thing? That their first major fuck up was about 5 years ago with the whole
Apple
iPhone thing.
Yeah, Apple thing.
And I said them fucking with Apple was going to cost them. And because they didn't realize, I'm like, why are you fucking with Apple? They know everyone, not just in the tech space, all around. So if you're dicking with them, they're gonna put word out to say, hey, don't mess with these guys because they've done these things to people. They know, and that trickles all the way down. And then we've even seen it in our own space. How many times ever since that day, have we seen Gizmodo at anything, at any event? Interviews? Nothing. They got cut, and they got harshly cut by everyone. It isn't like they wronged Samsung or they wronged LG.
But they know better.
You
don't want them.
But those same executives know those same executives that are over in Apple. They know those same people. They all do business with each other in some way or the other in the back end.
Damn, one of the top stories on Gizmodo right now is getting high on cannabis cocktails.
That's how fucked they are. Watch
a photocopier somehow get transformed into a trumpet.
This was a blog. This was a tech blog that was at one point number 2 to an Engadget. They were at that same level at one point.
All the books you desperately need to add to your read pile this summer.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Coffee Makers is on sale today. I'm going to keep reading these. These are amazing.
They need a love life section. That would solidify it. Like it would be mundane.
Netflix hacks to help you binge like a pro. Number 6 will blow your mind.
And then they didn't.
No, they did that. Number 6 will blow your mind.
No, I added that.
And I think I remember they had. If I remember correctly, they had was it IO9 was their movie thing, right?
IO9.
Oh my god!
It got smacked away.
Oh my god!
IO9 is now terrible.
Page 2 of Gizmodo. What's the most beautiful state in the United States?
Oh, that's just beautiful.
That's simple, man. It's Massachusetts,
but it means the same thing. Okay.
Oh my god.
There are a lot of things that happen with Gawker and all its sites. I used to go to IO9 religiously, and then IO9
or whatever smacked them out of here. Anyways, what's
who?
the Screen Rant?
Screen Rant came out and just pushed them aside, and then they were the ones who started doing a lot of the clickbait hate.
And then they had Deadspin, which TMZ just smacked the shit out of that.
And Jalopnik,
really fast.
If you were into cars, Jalopnik used to be a really good read.
It used to be good. It used to be the alternative to Car and Driver. Like you didn't have to go to Car, but even that just kind of faded away. So.
And then didn't they have the one site they shut down that everybody actually went to was the porn one. Jezebel.
No, Jezebel wasn't porn. Jezebel was their. Wasn't Jezebel their like pro female.
It was porn.
Pro, it's had some very interesting content on it.
It was porn.
Yeah,
I think you're thinking of something else. I think they had like a flesh something or flesh bot or something that was a porn blog. I think Jezebel has always been like a feminist blog.
Is Jezebel still around?
Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I think no, Jezebel's still around. Jezebel's different.
Maybe it's Fleshbot. Maybe what it's called.
But I thought it was something like that. But anyway, I mean, like, on the one hand, I want to say, like, oh, this is going to be a bummer for other people that were writing for Gawker, but a lot of these sites really need to just be put out of their misery.
It's Fleshbot. That's what it was. It
was
Fleshbot. That was out. And I remember that was big, but I think someone else owns it now. I don't think Gawker owns it anymore.
Yeah.
I think they sold it off. But I was like, wow, I remember the one property. I think everybody, some reason, randomly shared an article out of there. Was not afraid to share an article from that on Facebook. That was just the weirdest thing.
Yeah, no, because they always had some interestingly weird like articles off there. But I mean, like you said, you're right, Juan. It's a cautionary tale because you can't go around trying to purposely ruin people. Like even it's funny though. Like you want to be TMZ, but you don't have the TMZ model or cloud or.
I was just watching a video on this that best describes what we're saying here. It's integrity, and it's the level of integrity that you have. As you get more popular, the higher integrity essentially has to come, and people expect from you. There's a low level of it where you might not be in integrity all the time, might not be doing the most integrity-based things. You might be just doing things just to get yourself on. But at some point, as you grow,
it's got to match.
That's got to match up, and eventually people expect a higher level of integrity from you. TMZ did that. At some point, TMZ is a type of site. They at least verify their shit before they're supposed to say anything.
That is very true. When TMZ says somebody did this, and then CNN says no, it's not true. When it comes to celebrities, I go no, TMZ.
And here's the thing: you gotta remember what TMZ got its most credit from. They were the first to say that Michael Jackson was dead. They were the first ones to confirm it. And
and that was hours earlier.
If you Google anything now, everyone says somebody dead TMZ, because everybody goes to TMZ to get the confirmation.
They know who died. They know who died.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're right there. With your integrity has to match your rise to fame, especially in this day and age where we're not professional journalists. We didn't go to school for journalism. So you need to have something that people will say. It's like us on YouTube. I remember when somebody asked me and said, "Hey, if you did a paid review, wouldn't it be skewed?" I said, let me just lie that the product is good. Just watch how that will what would happen on YouTube.
Look, newsflash, spoiler, there's a lot of paid reviews out there that most of you don't even know about.
But you see, that's the thing with paid reviews, though. Even if you put a paid review out there and people go out and they buy the product and the product stinks, you automatically just labeled yourself a liar.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was putting out there. There's a lot of paid reviews out there, and trust me, if they were lying on anything that they were saying out there, YouTube would call you out. You would be called out so damn hard. So it doesn't matter.
Or the adverse, a review like what The Verge did for the HTC 10, where it wasn't paid, but they were called out for being
propaganda.
Completely skewed against the device. So, again,
they're the hipster brand that doesn't like gimmicks, gets a no gimmick phone and says it doesn't have enough gimmicks. What?
But I mean, that's also sort of the difference there too.
They've hit the CNET route. They've hit the CNET
outside
when it comes to
of
reviews.
general consumers. We understand that site has an agenda. So it's in the opposite direction. It's not the fear being, are you co-opted because companies are giving you money? It's they generate their audience and their income based on having a very specific agenda and being very pro-Apple. So that's how they keep their ad buys high, and that's also how they keep their outrage traffic high and their comment sections full.
That integrity
purposely
falls at a certain point, because this I remember when this fell for CNET. This shit fell for CNET. The moment they did that fucking 1020 versus iPhone comparison. Holy crap!
It was Molly couldn't figure out how this camera even works. How do you even get a good photo out of it?
But let me. Oh man, I don't know. At
that point, I don't think they put a review out since then. I don't think they've reviewed an actual product since then. They've just put out little unboxing. They've become unbox therapy. They took his gimmick and just basically scene edited. That's what they do now. Oh, Sam, what were you gonna say? Go ahead.
No, I was just like that. Realistically, I always like to put that whole Mollywood incident in context because she had. I was a big Buzz Out Loud fan. I'm still a big Buzz Out Loud fan because I go on some of the old podcasts and I still listen to them. But it was just basically at the end of a very great career in in what has become a very mediocre outlet, and I think she basically just phoned it in because she
No, I think
normally is very very good at what she does, but
No,
she just
she didn't
totally
get the
phoned down.
pamphlet.
I
They
think
didn't give her the
phoned down
printout.
and
That's
walked
the
away.
problem. They didn't
I
give her
think-
the printout. They didn't give her the little fancy
I-
printout that we get the review unit.
I
that
really
tells you
feel
what's
that a lot
on
of
it.
that stuff has an agenda where you can't piss off iPhone fans. If you piss off iPhone fans who come to this site, then it affects readership. So you always have to give Apple some extra bit of assistance or help or something in the review just to sort of placate what egos might be reading your site predominantly.
And that's what happens when you build your site. That's when you build your site based on a bias instead of basing it on an opinion an opinion where you don't have confirmation biases happening within there. Sites that don't have a direct bias towards things tend to be the sites that last the longest and tend to be the ones that eventually people flock to, even if they may be the biggest iPhone fan in the world. Eventually they're gonna see the integrity flop on whatever brand or site they're looking at and venture someplace else, either to get that same opinion or they venture to the place that has multiple opinions with it to engage a little bit more. It's not fun going to a site where everyone's saying one thing and everyone's just agreeing with you. And you have the one person that wants to just roll in there and just be, the renegade and say, fuck Apple, I don't care what this is, and just to start a whole bunch of flame wars. And
Well, you know what? Let's move on to Apple since we are talking about that. So it looks like Apple is about to get in the business of selling solar energy. Apple filed a new company called Apple Energy LLC in order to sell surplus solar power generated from its farms in Cupertino and Nevada. They said currently, according to its reports, it's that the company is producing about 93% of its electricity needs worldwide, and they're looking to expand that. And there might be possibilities of building charging stations, for the long-rumored Apple Car. So thoughts on Apple expanding its business? We always talk about this and how Apple doesn't expand, but this is very interesting side routes, expanding its business. What do you think about that? I'll start off with you, Juan, since you're in California and you're the environmentalist.
I don't know about the environmental.
I know.
drives a leaf.
So as far as I understand, this is going to be initially a very limited proposition where any additional energy that they're generating that they're not using will be sold off, and this seems preemptive because, like you said, they're currently operating at around 93%. But if they already have the infrastructure in place to sell energy back to the power companies, I don't see where an organization as large as Apple couldn't start expanding that slowly over time and become at least a recognizable name in this market, in this brokering this kind of deal. I think it's short-sighted, and I think it would be a long-term situation before we saw Apple, say, selling directly to businesses or directly to consumers. But having something in place where they can at least start that process makes a lot of sense. So initially, I mean, like, it's very cool, just first of all, to know that Apple is generating so much power for themselves and that they might be able to make a little extra money off of whatever they don't use. But I'm hoping that this is another avenue they can explore for long-term growth. I think Apple becoming more of this lifestyle company, not walking away from, but expanding beyond just the realm of consumer gadget electronics makes a lot of sense for this company.
Warren, do you think Apple is trying to become Evil Corp?
No, we know who Evil Corp is. They have a much further reach and a very familiar logo. Apple is essentially trying to carve itself another spectrum within their portfolio. They're trying to offer something new because the HomeKit thing isn't necessarily taking off as fast, but that's something they're released in, which is home automation. They're trying to get themselves into that. The car thing they're trying to do because they're trying to expand more than what they just do. Their competitors and that they compete with on the mobile market, which is the Samsung, LGs of the world, and the Sony to an extent, and the world as well too. They all have 50 million other things that they offer. Apple has one thing essentially that it kind of offers, which is just consumer level based electronics. So for them to compete and stay afloat in what's becoming much more saturated, which is their bread and butter, is becoming more saturated, so sales are slowing. They got to find something else to get themselves into. So that's why they're into this card thing. That's why they're into this, solar panel thing and all these other things like that. It's them trying to expand, and we'll see how well it goes. But this is also another thing where, while they're just getting to this now, there's other companies and even the companies to compete against that have been in this space for a lot longer than they have been. So,
Sam, do you think this is a linear process as to how Tesla, even though Solar City is not owned by Tesla, but I mean Elon Musk is a partner in that company, where they're trying to, it's almost like you're going to sell your customers a car, solar panel, and a charge pack. In that kind of one breath altogether. Do you think this is something that they might bundle later on down the line when it comes to the Apple car?
Well, sorry, my video's not working, but yeah, no, I think it's basically everyone's been saying. Anyone who's been paying attention to the whole market, especially with cell phones, anything that has to do with technology, would tell you that energy is going to play a big factor, and how you store energy is going to be how you generate and store energy is going to be a really big factor in the future. You have people building solar farms out in Sahara, out in the Sahara. You have people basically building wind tunnels in part of the Sahara as well. I mean, building wind turbines.
Wind farms, yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think if you're investing, or if your goal is to build something like a car that's going to be very energy intensive, that's going to need people to have a certain amount of energy at home, to charge it, or to basically get off the grid entirely, because the price of energy right now is actually increasing. So it behooves you to kind of get them an alternative to the high cost energy right now, to take them away from fossil fuels, to go greener. And I just think it's Apple thinking in a very Elon Musk / Tesla kind of way, because I think Tesla's I think what's really driving this is that Tesla has seen in their own plan, their own layout, that having the automotive kind of requires you to have a way, especially when you're dealing with something that's not an internal combustion engine, you have to also pioneer how you basically charge this car. And having that Tesla wall charging unit is going to play a big part when it gets the larger and larger it gets, right? The more capacity it has. And Apple's seeing this and saying, yeah, that makes sense. If we're going to take away fueling stations, if we're going to take away gas stations, what do we replace it with? And this is their answer. This is definitely this plays into that future game. They're going to be playing with the Teslas and probably the Googles of the world at the end of the day.
I want to add anything to that, Juan, as I look at how to get high on cannabis cocktails. Sorry, I just saw the image.
Isn't that nice?
I know.
Moto. Oh my God. No, I mean, like, again, I want to be careful, because we sort of know all of these things about Apple, but we don't really know anything about Apple until Apple decides to publicly say this is what we're doing. And so I hope that this is part of a backbone and an infrastructure where Apple is becoming a bit more like Alphabet, and we start seeing more of these skunkworks projects actually start finding some consumer-facing solutions.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. All right, so continuing more on Apple, I know we're getting towards the end of the show. I just want to get predictions and thoughts of what Apple would announce at WWDC 2016, which would be, I believe, Monday, right? If I'm not mistaken. Or is it Monday or Tuesday this week? Does anybody know the exact
I think
day?
it probably will be Tuesday. It's normally on Tuesday, isn't it? Hold on.
I can't remember. But anyway, I'll start off with you, Mr. Warren Bowman. What do you think Apple will announce? What it's software? We know this is mostly software anyway, so there might be no hardware. But any thoughts on what you think Apple will announce at WWDC 2016? Sorry.
I think the couple of things that we'll hear from them is the new release of what's coming in iOS 10, some of the new things coming there. I think we'll hear is sort of when that's going to be released. I think we'll hear some Apple TV updates, them pushing more of that platform and getting some more kind of energy behind that. I also think we may hear maybe one home automation style thing. I don't know if it's speaker or if something that maybe a thermostat, something that may be going in the home, something that's HomeKit driven. So maybe some type of hardware that'll be attached to that. I think we'll hear a minor announcement about that. And maybe the surprise thing is we'll actually hear something about them making something with Beats, something. I don't know what. They may say something. Um, and the other surprise may be that we might hear something about a new MacBook of some sort, but maybe an update to MacBook Pro. Not sure. But that'll be. I think the thing will be mostly about iOS 10, I believe.
Juan, what about you? Okay, while Juan drinks his water.
Sorry, I got a cough that I can't shake. No, I agree with Warren, and I think a lot of what we're going to see, obviously it's WWDC, the developer conference. I don't think we're going to see a ton of hardware at this event. Really, it's services. Services have been the major growth area for Apple lately. The growth in services like Apple Music are starting to compete against iPads in terms of revenue for this company. So I think that's going to be a major focus moving forward. And I hope that some of these rumors that maybe we'll see an opened iMessage platform for Android devices. So we'll have rudimentary communications ability that can finally cross that Berlin Wall of Android versus iOS. It could be very compelling. Again, Apple thinks of themselves as a hardware company, but the future is services. Even Lenovo at Lenovo World was talking about how they were getting into the services market and their hardware would complement that.
Yeah.
Google and Microsoft are going to be the biggest fight in technology over the next couple of years, and I think because they're services companies, and Apple is going to get left behind if they don't have good solutions to entice consumers on any platform to use their services and to be in their ecosystem. So I think that's going to be a good push, and this is going to be one of those years for Apple that serves as a transition into that market.
Sam?
I think probably what we're going to see is an announcement of a lot of cross-platform items. So I'm thinking, yes, iMessenger, like Juan said, but I'm also thinking it's not really out of the question for them to start, making inroads when it comes to releasing iTunes on other devices. I think to me that would be like the dark horse, like something that no one really expects at this point in time. And I think they might actually do it because if you have Amazon throwing its hat into the ring, you really need to beef up that consumer base. And the only way to do it right now is really to expand, Apple Music, or should I say, the subscription service at least to other platforms. Now, when it comes to what they're going to do with iOS, I'm hoping that they do like that Siri becomes more like Cortana, where you can actually, or even Google Voice, where you can use it to launch other apps or use it interoperably between other apps. So it's almost going to be the AI solution like Microsoft has now with what they're offering in the mobile OS. So I'm hoping Apple those are the only things I'll be really trying to pay attention to for WWDC. But apart from that, I really don't think they're going to do anything very surprising.
All right. I agree with everyone. I think the one thing they will do is change the name, and I agree with you guys at Pocket Now because I saw that yesterday. Is change the name of OS X to Mac OS, just because you're getting to iOS 10. It just makes sense to do that name switch. But in general, I think there might be some surprise cross-platform software entries at the show that basically, we'll try and make Apple make that services push across the board. I don't know how good Apple Music is doing on Android. I don't think it's that good at all, just because most Android people will be using Google Music and vice versa. So we'll see. In terms of hardware, I think we might see that MacBook refresh, just because we still don't have a MacBook with. Do we have a MacBook with a 6th gen processor yet, or no? I don't think so.
I don't think so. And then also to get more, I'll be curious to see if Apple starts embracing Thunderbolt 3.
Yeah.
Because the MacBook has USB-C, a USB 3.0 on a USB-C connector, but so far I think all MacBook Pros are still on Thunderbolt 2.
So yeah, there might be that refresh there. I know some people have said, the new keyboard styles with leaks and stuff out there, but I think it would be more on the internal hardware just because they need to update that itself. So nothing too spicy on that one. The next conference this week also would be E3, which is of course the big gaming conference we have. And I want to get your thoughts on what you expect to see and what you expect to see as highlights at that show. I'll start off with you, Sam.
New Xbox. That's really all I'm expecting to see. I'm really hoping.
Well, Xbox Mini or Xbox VR?
I'm hoping Xbox VR, which is basically going to be the more powerful Xbox, because going with an Xbox Mini to me either means keeping the same hardware or scaling back on the hardware, right? Because the Mini, the whole idea of the Mini is going to be basically slinging your game sessions to a different TV, right? And having your main Xbox. If it's released the way we've heard rumored, it's going to be basically having the same Xbox, whereas you have another box that basically slings your gameplay to another TV. And I think people will go for that, but I don't think that's going to be a huge selling point. I think the bigger selling point would be because PlayStation's coming out with a refresh that's supposed to be, PlayStation 4.5, and we know that this is definitely something that's going to happen. I think Xbox is probably going to announce that Xbox VR, where it said, hey, guess what? You can now use Oculus, or hey, maybe even HTC Vive on the Xbox, and that would be really amazing if they did that. So that's definitely the one big thing I want to hear from. I think the games right now, the games to me, not the biggest deal. Not the biggest deal at all. I think it's going to be the hardware. Excuse me.
Okay. Juan?
Did my mic come? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I agree. I think we're talking about some really interesting transitions happening. We're talking about whether or not VR starts making it more into the console space, because I think VR has the potential to really put consoles on their heels. Whether or not we see like a PlayStation 4.5 and Xbox 1.5, whatever these pieces of hardware shape up to be, I wonder if we'll get to that point where we start having more modular, more modular console designs, where, instead of having to buy an Xbox One and then an Xbox VR or PlayStation 4 and then a PlayStation 4.5, which is powerful enough, I'm just so enamored with Thunderbolt on my laptop. You can just add a GPU, and then you don't have to worry about whether or not your current console can handle that stuff. So I wonder if we'll start hearing some more stuff like that. But I agree. I think games, we're going to be talking about some games coming out, but it's going to be hardware that rules at E3 this year.
No one wants to talk about the new Destiny, Iron whatever.
I'm sorry, you were saying?
I cannot comment on...
I hate Destiny, so...
See, I think I hate Destiny is such a very benign statement to make, because...
No, it's not benign. Because you know what? I played that game with you.
Destiny... No, that's what I'm saying. I think that's what I'm saying. Saying you hate it is very benign, because it should be Destiny betrayed every single person that actually invested time into that game. Because when you went to E3 and you
Sam took it deeper.
No, you saw what this game was supposed to be, and this is something. This is why part of the reason I think gaming is not going to play a big part in E3, because we've had so many games releasing over the last few years that have basically promised the world and delivered less than the streets. You talk about Destiny that promised an MMO on a console and delivered basically what is, in essence, a shooter that has some of the worst multiplayer I've ever seen. You talk about the Division that promised you, being able to play on multi-platforms, and they didn't even deliver half of what they promised to deliver. So it's become an issue now where, yeah, the game looks good at E3. The demo looks amazing at E3. You have all these games where you're like, oh, it's amazing to see, and then you finally get your hands on it, and it's not that great. So it's just, to me, the games right now are just beside the point. It's the hardware, and it's the hardware. End of story. If the hardware is good enough, then everything else that I can do with my entertainment system becomes more important than that game that you promised me and you didn't deliver.
Okay, so Sam wants to just go and watch Voltron instead. How about you, Warren? Your thoughts, Warren?
Form Blazing Sword.
That's to say that I haven't been watching Voltron the entire time we've been recording this, guys.
Oh wow. Warren, go ahead.
Well, let's see here. First of all, Sam, welcome to gaming. You apparently didn't realize you've been doing this since 2005. This has been going on forever. It's always overpromise and underdeliver. That's how E3 in the game industry works. Um, as far as what we're going to hear, we will hear most likely about a Xbox streaming box and streaming stick. I think we'll hear about those. If we do hear about an Xbox Mini, a smaller version of the current Xbox, I'd be surprised they'd release that, considering that they're ready to put out a brand new Xbox next year that's supposed to be VR ready. I would imagine what they would do next year is that they would save that for next year, where they would have a brand new Xbox that's VR and capable with Oculus or Oculus and HTC Vive. Maybe it'll just have cross compatibility in some way with that. And then when they announce that, they will also create a non-VR version of the Xbox for people that don't want that experience, and that will become the Xbox Mini, which would be just basically the guts that are left from current Xbox that they're building out. I think that's what will make the most sense. I think what we will hear here is, one, we ain't going to hear a whole lot of anything from E3 to begin with, because everyone's been pulling out for the most part and not really wanting to announce a lot of large things here. So what we'll hear from them is a bunch of games totally coming out. We'll hear about the Xbox Stream Box and Stick. We'll hear about those things. I think those exist, and we'll hear about them pushing out, because one of the things they're going to use with that is pushing not only the ability to stream games from into another room or something if you have a current Xbox. They'll also, I believe, be using that to push Xbox Live Arcade and pushing a lot of games out that work within that ecosystem, because that's a big ecosystem for them, and being able to pimp that out and attach that to a small console would make it really exciting for developers to make more Xbox One games, maybe make even more Windows-based games within Windows 10 that can work not only on Windows 10 itself, but also work on Xbox Live. It gives them a gaming system that's a nice entry level for people that like casual games, and those casual game makers can make games that now can show up on a big screen. So I think that will exist. Beyond that, I don't believe we'll hear much more from Xbox. Sony, they might make this slight mention about the Neo, but they won't say too much about it, other than, hey, we're going to be VR ready next year, which is most likely Xbox will say we'll be VR ready next year, so be ready for that. We know we're not going to hear jack shit from Nintendo. They're just going to have people in a treehouse. No, not even a booth, a treehouse. They got people in a motherfucking treehouse. Somebody said that on YouTube when they reviewed last year's E3 announcement, and he says they got motherfuckers up in the treehouse. And I just thought about that. I was like, they really do. They got people in the treehouse talking about gaming. But I think that we'll hear some more things about Zelda from them, most likely. How you gotta wait until the NX comes out before you get to play it. But I think that'll be E3. It'll be, I think, an underwhelmingly level of announcements that'll be put out, with games that we heard of last year finally making their way out. Maybe a couple of new concepts of games to get excited about. We'll see another clip from Final Fantasy VII Remake that'll make people excited. That'll be about it.
In terms of Sony did confirm the PlayStation 4S 4.5. One exec said it probably won't be shown at E3. Most likely they'll show VR, but I think the PlayStation 4.5 is coming out this year, just because the VR headsets also come out this year. To me, it would make more sense that way. I agree with you, Warren, with the streaming stick or the streaming devices. I think one of the things that Microsoft will probably showcase also is more, because the Windows Anniversary is coming out sometime this month, right? And that updates to the Xbox. Next month. That update to the Xbox has been pushed to Xbox preview members already. I think started this week or so. So you're going to see more of that integration, because right now Cortana now powers Kinect on the Xbox, so you can actually use Cortana with your headset or with the Kinect itself, if you're a preview user. And I think you're going to see more of that Windows integration. You're going to show more of that at E3. Maybe the ability to finally stream your games away from your home network, so I could be streaming my Xbox right now in California if I, you can do that on PlayStation. So Microsoft, you guys should be able to do it. It's not that hard, apparently, if Sony can do it. So I think stuff like that. In Nintendo's case, we know very well the NX is a no-show till next year, and I think we'll see a lot of accessories. Accessories is what we're going to see at this E3 in general. And then
I don't know how many we're going to
Yeah.
see with these consoles in the flux that they're in.
no, I think trust me, we'll see a lot of accessories.
We'll see a lot of headsets, but
but yeah, I mean that is
what else is there to really offer now?
that's just
A
standard accessory.
couple of fighting gaming pads for the PC and the PS4. A couple of custom controllers. We'll see. Beyond that, this isn't going to be like how it was in the last generation, where we got a lot of accessories and a lot of companies pushing a lot of things. It's been ever since these new consoles have come out. It's been a very, very light level of accessories out comparative to the past. Around this same time, in the last generation of consoles,
But also
again,
again,
everything.
but you think about it now, you don't need that many accessories like last generation. Last generation was also like an accessory abuse case scenario, man. I mean,
You
it was.
didn't need that many. You didn't need that many before. Last
Yeah.
accessory.
I know. I'm just saying it was an abuse. I mean, Nintendo, all these companies just throw so many accessories out there, and I mean, people bought it. So I mean, but now we can clearly see we don't need that. But yeah, I think that's what we'll see at E3. This is for Sam because Sam still has not responded. Lou Rod is asking him if he's watched Warcraft because I mean, we are waiting for your thoughts.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I'm actually going to try.
What kind of Warcraft fan are you, man? I mean,
Well, I'm a Warcraft fan that actually grew up and has a job now, so I can't take time off to go see this stuff. Because believe you me, I used to take every single release that came out. I would generally take a day off and play it, but I couldn't do it this time. I really wish I could have. But I should see it today, and maybe I'll discuss a little bit with you guys tomorrow right after.
There's the Warcraft police.
Oh yeah, that's Beatrice, and she's gonna be pissed off at me if she can't come in and clean up. So, all right, guys, I'll catch you guys later.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much for joining. We should wrap up the show here. And at this point, we'd like to find out from, of course, our hosts what they have on their channels and what we can expect next week. So, Mr. Warren Bowman, kicking off with you as usual. What do we see on your channel? What can we expect next week?
What do we see on my channel? That's a good question. Oh no, I have there's a couple of videos up about the Gear Fit 2 and the Gear Iconic X that are up. The S4 Active unboxing is up because people love unboxing videos, so I unboxed it for you. And there'll be some other videos coming up in the near future that I'm currently working on. Don't want to say anything too much yet, so be prepared.
Top secret.
Yes, top secret.
All right, cool. All right, Mr. Juan Bagdell, what can we see currently on Pocket Now, and as well as some Gadget Guy, and then what do you have for us next week?
I'm still way behind on Gadget Guy stuff. So we have our Lenovo Tech World stuff out on Pocket Now right now, and then we're gonna spend some time with the Xperia X. So I've got the Xperia X here.
Whoa!
And it doesn't work. It's totally DOA. Like it doesn't boot. It charges. It's a mess. So we reached out to a distributor out in the UK, clove.co.uk, and they're actually hooking us up with a loaner unit. So I have to plug them because they're being really cool about helping us out. So I can get rid of this brick of a brick device. And so hopefully next week we're going to start actually looking at a Sony product for the first time in a little while since the Z5.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not off to a great start, guys. I can't say that I'm I'm overly impressed so far. So once one arrives that is actually functional, I hope it's a better experience than what we currently have right now. Because right now it doesn't even make for a great paperweight.
Go down.
All right, cool. And on Board at Work, we have the Galaxy S7 Active review, and also check out our review of the HTC Vive, and you can see what I think about the device and all its motion craziness and kicking stuff around my room. You should just so you know, like I didn't hit anything because I cut all those sections off out of the video, so you guys will not see me actually. Yeah, it's cleanly edited out. You know, like I spilled drinks. Trust me, while I actually played in the vibe. Stuff from Lenovo Tech World as well with the Moto Z, Moto mods, and also the Phab2. And then definitely check out our gaming headset review, which is the new Turtle Beach Elite Pro headset. It's not out yet, but it's the Elite Pro with your gaming amp and their mic. And the one thing I will say though is everyone now has graduated with their gaming audio. It's either DTS Headphone X or Dolby Audio, Dolby's new Atmos audio in there, in most of the headsets so far, like the new ones I've reviewed. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays down the line. But I will say, though, audio has been getting better, you know, with these gaming headsets. And next week, E3, I'm going down to LA. I'm in San Diego now, so I'll be in LA. And so it'll be E3 stuff. And I'll try and, if Apple announces anything cool at WWDC, maybe I'll make an announcement. If not, I'll just say, whatever.
Whatever.
All right, guys. Yeah, definitely check out the channels. Check out Mr. Warren Bowman at BW1.com. That is, yes, his lower third with his name and his Twitter handle and also his site. You can just type and search BW1.com on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You will find him there. And of course, Mr. Juan Bagnell of Pocket Now. You can find his videos up there, Pocket Now. Also, you can follow him on Twitter as Some Gadget Guy. Yes. And he also has his own personal YouTube channel, Some Gadget Guy, where he reviews other gadgetry stuff. And this is me, myself, Thunder E. My lower third is back. Boored at Work on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And thank you very much. And always enjoy your entertainment. Bam.